The show rolls on from Lubbock, Texas. We are in West Texas. We're having a good time this morning, getting ready for a little Texas Tech and Oral Roberts tonight for ESPN non-conference game. This wraps up. This wraps up my non-conference schedule, and then I start off the season with TCU at Arizona in Tucson. Basketball is back, baby. It's been back for a while, but I'm loving it. All right, so we talked about the NFL a little bit. And I want to kind of dovetail off that. I love what is that even? Well, I'm going to dovetail off of that into Bill Belichick. We've learned more information. I do not regret, by the way, an opinion I had last week that got like a lot of run for me on on social media, where I said I was frustrated with Bill Belichick not coaching in the NFL. Not that anybody's asking me to, but I won't walk back off that. I'm bummed. I am. I'm disappointed. The more I learn, I'm very disappointed in the NFL and not so much with Bill Belichick. Like from reports from the likes of, and these are like when you talk about these guys, you're talking about some real heavyweights here. Seth Wickersham and Adam Schefter. Bill Belichick was really, he wanted to take control of his destiny. He did not want to wait around and go into the offseason and get left at the altar again by NFL teams like he did last year. And the thought process now, more and more I'm hearing, is not like Bill Belichick is a huge pain in the ass and he is going to, turn the inner workings of an organization upside down because of his thirst for control, personnel, player on the field. It's not so much that as it's the owners themselves. Like their incompetence and their inability to release control to a guy who will come in and do it his way. It's an indictment on the NFL. And I think it's a bummer again for us. I was like really fired up last week when we learned of what was going on. But I think it's an indictment on us, on the NFL, as to Bill Belichick not being coached. When you look at some of the jobs that were going to come open too, like there are certain things like we just don't know that we're learning now. Like, I should have known better, but like Bill Belichick really didn't even want the Giants job because he's so he favors Brian Daboll so much. And he doesn't want to be a guy looked at who would like shank somebody like a young coach that he was a fan of and that he wanted to do something well, to do well. Apparently Las Vegas, this is according to Wickersham, not only it does the team just suck so bad, and the organization is just so unstable. Also, it's far away. Apparently, he wants to stay like towards the coast. This is again according to Seth Wickersham. One thing that's really interesting, and Diana Rossini, the NFL insider, had a report yesterday that after all these months of, or not months, but several instances of Bill Belichick like kind of talking some smack about the Jets organization and being negative about the Jets on the Manning cast, talking about Woody Johnson. This is after Robert Saleh got fired. Apparently his people around Bill Belichick reached out to the Jets a couple weeks ago and said he would have interest in the job or was showing some interest in the opening because Jeff Ulbrich, after the season, the Jets head coach is not going to last, obviously. So that was something that came into play and people were like, what, really? So apparently this was a few weeks ago and people within the organization were so shocked. In the Rossini report, it read that certain members of the Jets organization didn't even get the message because there was so much shock in those who initially received it. But that was dismissed about as quickly as the overture was made. But there you go, right? Like here's Bill Belichick, like pounding his chest. We would all do this. You're on TV, you're pounding your chest about an organization you don't like. But then like, hey man, at the end of the day, it's like, this is all you want to do. So it's like, hey, do you guys have any? Maybe. So that obviously didn't work out, but that was surprising. The main point that I took away this weekend, the one thing that I learned that means the most to me was that the buyout for Bill Belichick is not something that's astronomical. It's not a mountain that's too steep for NFL organizations to climb. Apparently, according to Adam Schefter, the number is laughable. And if any team wanted to go ahead and get that buyout squared away, which comes into play June of 2025, 6 months from now, before his first season with North Carolina, like this could be figured out. So I see this, and I'm not saying like he wants to go to Carolina and jump ship, but it certainly is in play that he can go to North Carolina, have some success, test the waters, basically. He's back doing every day what he loves to do. And if it gets super uncomfortable or an amazing job opens up and they're like, hey, Bill, we have everything you want. Come work for us. Like, it's very simple. It's not going to take much for him to be right back in the NFL, which is like, I think the most important part of this whole situation, that although he is 72, he could be in North Carolina for 1 year, right? And then he could be in the NFL. And we see it in college now. I don't know why. If a college coach coaches 1 year in Incarnate Word and gets real hot, and then he goes to Texas State, that happens. Like, and so for Bill Belichick to have one successful year in North Carolina, why can't he go to the Carolina Panthers or to the Jacksonville Jaguars or a team that needs his services that has everything set up? So it's certainly not off the table for Bill Belichick to go and coach in the NFL a year from now. And that buyout, that says it all right there. Couple NFL notes, NFL broadcasting notes. Tom Brady yesterday. So the Eagles were playing the Steelers. By the way, the Eagles on fire. Jalen Hurts is the man. He's so much cooler than me. I still don't love his body language, but who cares? I'm just a people pleaser who wants people to smile more. And I wish he would smile more, but what are you going to do? He doesn't smile much. That's it. At the press availability after the game, all week long, Lane Johnson called it the Real Housewives of Philadelphia because of A.J. Brown. And then Brandon Graham gets involved, and, it's Jalen Hurts and A.J. Brown don't like each other. It's this whole thing, right? And Devontae Smith is somehow lumped into it. And the Eagles go out and they really work over the Steelers. And I got the numbers right here. A.J. Brown gets 11 targets, a season high. Devontae Smith has 12 targets, a season high. Both catch for over 100 yards. Devontae Smith had 11 catches. A.J. Brown had 8, and they both scored a touchdown. So Jalen Hurts goes to his press conference, and he sits down, and he's like, you guys have seen it. He's like, is that what y'all wanted? It's like, oh, all right, dude. Okay, we get it. You're way cooler than us. And we're like schleps in the media and fans, and we're on the outside. I kind of felt like that whole thing. I felt like I did when I was a freshman at Archbishop Carroll High School, when girls wouldn't talk to me. I felt like I was a total outsider. I was real skinny and had big ears, and Jalen Hurts was the cool kid. That was y'all want. I was like, even yesterday, I was like, ooh. I was clutching my pearls. This guy's way too cool for me. Hopefully he'll be leading me to a Super Bowl, though. Again, the body language, I don't love it, but who cares what I like, right? He's apparently, by all counts, he's the best guy ever. So I can suck it up. But during that game, I was really paying, because I was on a plane, right? So I was paying. I think watching something on a plane is the best place to actually take in what you're watching, because you're kind of screwed up there. I actually had found a way to backdoor it because the internet on the plane wasn't working for a while. Anyway, so I'm watching the Eagles game on my Hulu, and it's pretty good. It was coming in all right, a little pixelated, but whatever, it worked. And I thought Tom Brady was phenomenal, and I thought finally I was like, oh, here's the guy. This is the guy in the locker room that's breaking everybody's balls. This is the guy. He felt like my friend. He was not hesitating to jump in anymore. If anything, he would step on Kevin Burkhardt and then apologize. It rarely happened, if ever. Well, it did happen because I'm talking about it, but it rarely happened. But the couple times for me were notable because, one, of how smoothly he handled it, getting it back to Burkhardt. And two, how natural and genuine his zest for getting the message across, right? Like he was just pumped to share information about the game. He feels so much more at ease, right? He seems like, and with that comfort is like he's giving us better information. It's packaged tightly. It's also funnier. He's way funnier and more comfortable. I found myself laughing at things he said yesterday. Because, like, remember now, like, football is an escape for us. When we drop in to this escape and a broadcaster who's presenting us the game seems nervous or tight, the escape then all of a sudden we become distracted during this escape and becomes less enjoyable for us because now we're worried about this guy who's anxious. And if that guy's Tom Brady, our mind is blown and that's all we want to talk about. Now it seems like he's like just like having a blast and now he's able to be the best again. Like I really am like, oh, wow. And another thing, this all takes repetition. It takes repetition for him. And honestly, it takes repetition for us. Like when you meet somebody and you become their acquaintance, right? It takes a while before you consider them your friend, right? It takes reps. It takes and a lot of times it takes uncomfortable situations like a dinner party you don't want to go to, a meeting that you're stuck going to, but you sit next to this person one time, and then you're eating lunch with them at another mandatory place you have to be at if this is work. And you think, oh man, this guy's kind of funny. He's growing on me, right? Like that's what we're seeing here with Tom Brady. Like he's growing on us, but there's very good reason why, because he's cool and he's doing a good job and he's way more relaxed. Like it's like a lot of fun. That game was a really awesome viewing experience yesterday, not just because the Eagles won, but because I had a lot of fun with Tom Brady. I have a theory on Aaron Andrews, by the way. And I noticed this about myself. Aaron Andrews is, I think, and maybe it's because I'm like, I like subscribe or I follow like the Calm Down podcast Instagram. And I'm like, through that, you see like her and Carissa Thompson, and they seem like great buddies, and it's fun. Like that show's cool. I never have taken in a whole episode, but sometimes I watch like the reels and stuff, and it's super interesting stuff. But with that, she was on Dancing with the Stars for that was a long time ago. But like her clothing line, she just look. Aaron Andrews seems like a big star, like a huge star to me, to the point where she almost seems like too big of a star for that environment. Does that make sense at all to anybody else? Like I find myself like if the sideline reporter on the Eagles-Steelers game yesterday was someone who, let's say Taylor Davis, right, who does an amazing job for ESPN, but she's Taylor Davis. Like she's only been in my life for like 4 years, right? I know she did the Cubs. Forgive me if I'm getting her last name wrong. Maybe it's Taylor Davis, I think. But anyway, she's a young up-and-comer, not even up-and-comer. She's a young, established, really good sideline reporter analyst for ESPN. And I am like, oh, wow, like that was a really good point. Like when I hear her talk, right? It's more like just simple, like that was a good report. Oh, wow, this young woman is really good at this. Okay, cool. With Aaron Andrews, it's almost like when they go down to her, I'm like way overly analytical of Aaron Andrews. I'm pumped. Every time they show her, I'm pumped. She's, I'm not breaking any news. Super cute, right? Like yesterday, just looked super cute in that adorable outfit. I'm a fan, obviously, right? But I think we get overly analytical with her presentation and everything she does because she's such a star. And that is almost a distraction of the broadcast itself. Now, if you were like a therapist or anybody who knows me at all, you'd say, well, Pete, that sounds like a you problem. and it definitely is like a you problem. But I just noticed myself when Aaron Andrews pops onto the broadcast, I'm like, oh, it's Aaron Andrews. Like let's hang on her every word. And then if she makes even the smallest mistake, someone like me who is in the broadcasting world and gets a little bit of shine, but she's at the mountaintop. I'm like, oh my God, she made a mistake. And then you find it so relatable. You're like, oh yeah, Aaron Andrews, she makes mistakes too. But I don't know. She's just such a star. I'm always kind of hyper focused on her. And I think it's because she comes in and out of the broadcast, right? Like briefly. That's got to be such a hard job, by the way. I've never done it. Well, that's not true. I did it for the Charlotte Hornets. I did radio sideline reporting. And it was actually a lot of fun because, people around the team sort of got to know me or they did know me. So you could stand behind, you can stand behind a huddle. Like Larry Brown was the coach, I can remember. And then after Larry Brown, it was Steve Clifford. But I would stand right behind the huddle and get like what the next play was going to be. And I could say, hey, like I'm ready to go on. And I worked with Scott Lauer, was the play-by-play guy for the Bobcats eventually, and then the Hornets. I worked with Scott Lauer and Brevin Knight, and then I worked with Scott Lauer and Matt Carroll. But I could see the basketball is much, I guess because I worked for a team, I had much more access. I don't think it's like that anymore. Like I don't think a sideline reporter can stand behind like Taryn Hatcher in Philadelphia. I don't know if she can stand behind the Sixers huddle, and Nick Nurse is cool with that on the last play of the game and then give a report. But that's what we could do. That made it super important. A couple things that Erin Andrews, bound to this job and the importance of it, she was talking about, she was treading a little bit. She was getting a little aggressive, a little, not to say reckless, but there was Jalen Hurts had an issue with his left hand. There was rumors that he'd broken his finger. Now it's not on his throwing hand, and Eagles PR would not confirm it, but the report was out there. It sounded like, yeah, she knew he'd broken his finger, but Eagles PR, Bob Lang, St. Thomas Good Counsel fame, it's my grade school. Bob Lang would not confirm. Langer and I went to grade school together. He's a year above. He's the man. Totally self-made. Amazing story. He is the czar of the Eagles PR and communications now. But Langer and his staff won't confirm it because they won't confirm it. Bob Lang, that's a difficult job in itself because you do not go if the organization wants to be vague or is not going to confirm an injury to the media or the public, you do not confirm the injury. You do not you don't even that's something that's fireable offense even off the record. If you say, hey, it's broken, you really have to be careful with that stuff because it could be a death knell for you. So, Bob Lang won't confirm. Erin Andrews is talking about it. And then Tom Brady's like, well, it doesn't matter because it's not on his throwing hand. And we see the guy had thrown one or two incompletions the whole game. So it was kind of snuffed out right away. But that was good information that Erin Andrews got up to the booth. And Brady handled it well, the lightheartedness I'm talking about. All right, so we're gonna work on Cam Stewart next. If we can't get Cam, you'll get one more segment of me. But I do want to discuss some Bill Belichick stuff with Cam and also a wild rumor about Villanova basketball and who could be the next head coach of that team if Kyle Neptune can't completely turn it around, which I heard that around the program that Kyle Neptune, Villanova's head coach, was really on thin ice. They lost to Columbia. They lost to St. Joe's. That's not okay. I'm not saying they got to make the Final Four, but that's not okay. And apparently there was real scuttlebutt that they were going to let him go, but he's won 3 straight. One of those wins against Cincinnati. Cincinnati might be the best team in the Big 12 right now.